Well, g'day guys, how you doing? I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to make a video today, and I do one of these every couple of years on breeding and feeding ferrets. So I get asked at least 20-30 times a year by different people about what I breed them, how to breed them, how to feed them. So look, none of this is pre-scripted, so I'm probably going to go over a few different things and probably get a few things wrong, but anyway, I'll do the best I can. Before I start, I'll say, look, it's never a good idea to breed ferrets unless you've got somewhere to unload the kits so that they can go to a good environment, working environment preferably. They also make pretty good pets, but I don't use them for pets. So they're a lot of work, a lot more goes into it than people realise, and it's there's not a lot of money in it. So if you want to breed ferrets to make money, you're not going to do anything too well with it. Not to mention everyone complains about price, etc, etc. Everyone wants a ferret for about 20 or 30 bucks, and you can pick them up for that, but you'll never get any of mine for that, that's for sure. Not for the amount of work that I put in and for what I feed them. And even at $100 each, you're just about still losing money, believe it or not, if you do it the way I do it. So we'll start off with talking about feeding a ferret. They're primarily a carnivore, aren't they? Like in the wild, that's what they eat meat. So that's the number one thing they need to sustain them, which is protein. Any protein that you give them should have a minimum, in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinions, including vets, about 40% protein in the diet that you give them, at least. They do extremely well on raw diets, which is what I mainly give mine. They get a raw diet. That consists of usually liver, heart, chicken necks, kangaroo, a lot of rabbit, kangaroo tail, any type of meat, any type of raw meat they'll just about eat. They love birds, they love mice, any type of red meat, they will eat it. Some ferrets can be more particular about their food than others, so when they're very young as a kit, it's good to give them a variety of different food at that time in their life, and that'll work for you later on, because they'll have a wider range of things that they've been exposed to as a youngster. Makes them less particular about their diet. Some ferrets can be a bit particular. If you get a ferret off someone and it's never eaten raw food, sometimes when you feed them raw food, they just don't like it. Some people feed their ferrets primarily on a ferret dry food, which I would never ever recommend. I mean, look, let's be fair dinkum. We have enough issues with the stuff that they want to feed humans, let alone to regulating the pet food industry. So you don't know what they're putting in it, and having spoken to people who've worked in the chicken industry about what they feed them, etc., I'm very, very highly suspect about the pet food that the kibble food that they're putting onto the market. That being said, I do use kibble dog food, and it's a non-grain cat, well, it's actually a cat food, but it's 36% protein, which isn't the 40%, but I do use a dry food. And your ferrets, some ferrets I've seen, they do extremely well on it. I just think they do a bit better when you give them more of a natural raw diet. Just my opinion. So when I do feed them the kibble, and I give them a grain-free one, I use ivory coat. I used to use the ferret kibble, but they didn't really like it all that much, and so I started giving them grain-free ivory coat, and they do really good on it. But when I give it to them, I try and lift the protein by adding eggs to it. So if you're going to feed your ferret eggs, and it's a good idea, they're like a vitamin pill, aren't they, full of protein, so that lifts the protein level of the dry feed. But if you're going to give your ferrets eggs at all, and I wouldn't recommend you give it to them more than twice a week, if you're going to give it to them raw, make sure that you take the white out of the egg. Raw white egg, the white from an egg, gives ferrets a thing called biotin deficiency. So if you're going to give them raw eggs, make sure you take the white out of it, just give them the yolks. If you cook it, that's a whole different ball game. You can give them the whole thing. You know, one complete raw egg every now and again is not going to hurt them, but it balances out. There's something in the yolk and something in the white, and they balance each other out. So, but the egg white can actually give them biotin deficiency, so don't do it if you can avoid it. So what else do I give them? Well, that's about it really. There's not really a lot to be said. I've also got a vitamin supplement, and I'll go and grab that and give you a look at it, that I sprinkle on, like when I give them a rabbit. Rabbits can be a little bit low in fat too, by the way, guys. They're a little bit lean, so you know, if you're going to give them that type of diet, like a raw food diet, if you're getting fat rabbits, it's not so bad, but they can get a bit lean at certain times of the year when there's not much food on the ground. Try and give them other sorts of meat as well with a higher fat content, something like lamb flaps or something like that, and something with a high, or go to the supermarket and buy the lowest grade mince that you can possibly get, because that low grade mince, guess what, will be very, very high in fat, and it's important to add that to their diet. Usually the fat content of the food you're giving them should be somewhere in the vicinity of 20%, thereabouts. So just keep that in mind. So that's the feeding part. I'll go and grab this stuff out that I give them, the vitamin supplement, and I sprinkle that onto their raw food. Calcium is another thing. I've got a calcium powder that I sprinkle a bit into. When you're giving them the vitamin supplement that I give them, you don't really have to give them a lot of calcium because there's calcium in it. It's also got added calcium. But every, you know, maybe once a fortnight or something, I'll add a little bit of calcium powder. So I'll go grab this stuff and I'll give you a look. Okay, I've just been inside to get this stuff so you can have a bit of a look at it. That's the calcium powder, which is just a calcium powder that you can pick up at most pet foods, and you just sprinkle a bit on their food, on their raw food. This stuff is called Predimax, and a lot of the zoos and etc. put this in with the food of things like lions and other carnivores that they're only giving raw food to, just to give them the supplements that they may be missing, or they're not getting the vitamins and that may be lacking in the food that they're feeding. And see, that's how I got put onto it. So it's called Predimax. It's just a vitamin supplement. It's got added calcium. Comes in the 2 ways you can buy it that I know of, which is the small container there, but it's the same stuff, and you can buy it in a 5 kilo bucket. As you can see, I've got both. But yeah, so that's what I use anyway, guys. So that's got pretty much their feeding. Make sure they've always got fresh water, and they do drink a lot of water on that, and it's really good for them. Make sure it's clean. All right, so we'll go on to the breeding side of it. If you've decided and made your mind up that you're going to breed your ferrets, number one thing I will say is, please, whatever you do, try and make sure that your ferrets aren't related. You can listen to all these blokes that'll tell you line breeding, you can do this and you can do that, but listen, take it from me. If you line breed your ferrets, which means father to daughter, sister to brother, cousin to whatever, I mean, the gene pool's small enough it is. When you start doing that, I've been down that road of line breeding, listening to people in the past, and it's brought nothing but heartache. And what it does, I'll tell you what it does when you inbreed or line breed your ferrets. You might get away with it and have perfectly good looking kits, but when you breed those kits, if you line breed them again, you're going to start to get issues. And what happens with them is they get shorter in the nose. They can get psychological or mental problems, like you probably would if you slept with your own sister and had a kid. All the same problems associated with doing that sort of thing is also relevant towards ferrets. They can have the same outcomes: mental issues, birth defects, weaknesses of the hips, especially. They get swimmer's disease. That's where it comes from. People confuse that with rickets at times. It's a completely different thing. Swimmer's disease comes from inbreeding. A lot of the times you'll line breed father to daughter, kits will look alright, breed those kits, swimmer's disease will come out in 1 or 2 of them, not all of them. Usually comes out in the kits. How do I know? Because I've been there and done it. So look, it's my recommendation. that you try and keep them as far apart related as you possibly can. The gene pool is small enough, especially in this country. So that's the number one thing. Just try and make sure that they're not related in any way, shape or form. If you want to work them for working stock, if you're working your ferrets, try and always use proven workers. It makes a difference. If you've got two ferrets that work really good, chances are that the kids they're going to pass those traits along. Traits are hereditary in most animals, and ferrets are no exception. Their pregnancy lasts for normally 6 weeks or 42 days, and usually to the day. So if you put a female in with one like with Spike down there today, magnificent specimen he is. Yeah, if you put a Jill in with him today, 42 days later, probably to the day, she'll have her kids. He's already been breeding this year, and I've got Storm is getting bred with Cooter right now, but I'll give you a look at them in a minute. Here's old Sally and Grace at the end there. They're retired, but you did see them out the other day. I did take them for a run. So yeah, just some things to consider, guys. I'm probably going to go all over the shop and all that. Like I said, this isn't planned. I'm sort of doing it on the fly, and as I remember things, I'll throw them in. I can't really think. So yeah, 42 days to the day, you're going to, once you put them in, they'll breed. If you're going to work them, like I said, try and put it worker to worker. You get the best ferrets you can for their working ability and what you like for the type of ground that you're ferreting. Put them together and hopefully they'll click. Sometimes they don't, and you'll get some workers. I always try and improve the line all the time. I use a priority trait system, and what that means is I have a list of things that I look for the workability and the working ability of the ferret. Their nature is pretty important. You want to try and get a ferret that gets along well with other ferrets. So if you're going to breed ferrets, make sure it's one that gets along okay with other ferrets. I bred Lags last year, and she hated other ferrets. Fortunately, I kept a buck out of her, and the other kits that I've seen that came out of her, we've been pretty fortunate that they didn't turn out to be aggressive like her. Look, there's no sure way to make sure that that's not in your ferrets, but you know, starting off with a ferret that's not like that, well, it doesn't hurt, does it? You know, you're just increasing your percentage and chance that your kits are going to be like to live with other ferrets without too much mucking around with fighting and all that type of thing. Another thing you look for is their temperament towards humans. Most ferrets take to humans. Some actually like to be in your company a lot more than others. I don't sort of pay a lot of attention to that sort of thing. Some of me ferrets they want to be patted all day. Other ferrets just squirm around and want you to put them down. Which is pretty common with a lot of my ferrets. I've got a lot of squirmers. They're more interested in working than me patting them. But I have the odd one like Trixie, and Lags was a bit like that. And I've got a couple of others that Storm's a bit, she doesn't mind being patted, but you know, on other days she's always squirming and wants to get down. So yeah, that's another thing I look at. Their agility, how good are they on their feet? I like a ferret that's pretty quick on its feet. Although I've got, you know, I've always got one or two that normally the more thorough ferrets are, the ones that sort of don't miss many rabbits in the burrow, they're normally a little bit slower on their feet because they take their time and they investigate the burrows more thoroughly. But they normally take a bit longer, you know. They're normally the ones that are always last out. People will argue that they're usually your best ferrets, and in some regards they're correct. But I like a mixture of both. I like them a little bit quicker on their feet, and that's because I like to, because I've got so many different rabbit warrens I can do. I like to put the ferrets in, bulk the easy ones, pick your ferrets up and move on to the next burrow. So it's advantageous if you're doing that type of work, and you do it often, to have ferrets that are a bit better on their feet. They might miss the odd one or two, as opposed to the one that's really thorough, and but they'll do their job a lot quicker, and you don't have to wait as long. When you get the ones that are a little bit more thorough, when I say bulk the easy ones, that's the ones when you put the ferret in, As soon as they see the ferret or the ferret touches them, bang, they run out of the burrow. And then you get the ones, if you've made a bit of noise above ground, they're a lot more hesitant. When your ferrets are more thorough and more persistent, they will chase them rabbits round and around and around. And it's good when you want to clear burrows. Those type of ferrets are good for that type of thing. But like I said, you do more waiting. So you have to find your sort of balance in between what you're looking for. Whether you want a ferret that's completely thorough, never ever misses many at all, and you know, it'll clear the burrows out, and or like I just said, the ones that are a bit quicker, they'll miss the odd one, they do the job a lot quicker, and they'll bolt the easy ones and you move on. So find what it is that you're looking for and try and breed a ferret with that particular trait, because that is a trait. I have a mixture of both, horses for courses. So yeah, something to keep in mind. So there's a couple of the things, and prey drive and instinct are two different things. They're another two things that I have on my priority list. I'm pretty high up on it. Instinct is when you put a ferret near a burrow. This is how I separate it anyway. May not be corrected, but it's how I look at it. Instinct is when you put a ferret near a burrow, and straight away its instinct kicks in, and its curiosity to go into the burrow and investigate is a natural instinct for that ferret, and off it goes. So I call that instinct. So I look for that in a ferret. You know, some ferrets, you put them down near a hole and they'll walk around the top of the hole and they don't really want to go down. It's pretty rare. Eventually most ferrets will go down, but some do it a little bit better than others, and you get an eye for it for the ones that are high in instinct in that area. The other thing is prey drive. Prey drive is a little bit different. It's also instinctive, but I separate the two, because you'll get a ferret that walks through a burrow because of its natural instinct, but when it comes across a rabbit, it won't even touch it, it won't even bite it. It'll just walk past it and keep going, because it doesn't have prey drive. But when a ferret is high in prey drive, it'll attack any rabbit it sees straight away, just about. They can get a little bit, they drop off a little bit if you're using them consistently, you know, 2 or 3 days a week over a few years. Eventually, they, like anything, they get a little bit complacent about the whole thing. They'll still do it because they love it, but they can drop off a bit. Don't let that worry you. That prey drive is still there. It's just that you know, they like all of us. We do it every day. We get sick of it. Doesn't matter what you do. Ferrets are a little bit like that too. But anyway, when they're Chook's laying an egg there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So where was I? Yeah, don't worry about that sort of thing. So prey drive's a really good thing to look for in your ferrets. High on my priorities, almost right at the top. The way I check for that is from day one, when I get young kits and I'm taking them out for the first time. And normally, look, I wouldn't advise taking them out before they're 20 weeks of age. But by then, you should be able to get a dead rabbit, put them in front of your ferret, and if it's very high in prey drive and you shake the rabbit in front of it, because its prey drive so high, it will automatically, it won't even think, it just does it instinctively, grab hold of that rabbit. Just because your ferret doesn't do it at 20 weeks of age doesn't mean it's not going to, and doesn't mean its prey drive won't get better as time goes on. But I always look for, if I'm going to breed ferrets, I call them day one ferrets that did that from day one. That's what I try and breed. Don't be too disheartened if your ferret at 20 weeks old isn't doing that. Possibly by the time it's a year old, it probably will. If it's working the burrows, normally they, you know, at some point in time, they will attack a rabbit. Most ferrets. But I like day one ferrets. They're the type I breed from. Yeah, so there's not really a lot more to say. I'll show you the stuff that I use in their bedding. A lot of people can, I've got to put some in there, I haven't put it in. But I use this stuff here. It's like a wood chip. Some people say, oh, I don't use it, blah, blah, blah. understand, like for them people who message me and say, oh, you shouldn't be using that stuff, like etc. What would I know? I've only been keeping them for 50 years. You know, what would I know? Listen to me, wood chips are fine. Probably better than straw, they get less ticks and fleas. Straw's messier and blah, blah, blah. I've been breeding in this stuff for forever, and it's fine. So for the people who've been messaging me about using wood chips, I know what I'm doing. I know what wood chips have got chemicals in and which ones haven't, so calm down. So yeah, that's what I do, I use wood chips. Alright, I'll just show you the 2 bucks that I'm breeding this year. This is Cooter, who I bred last year, and he's a cracker, mate. This is Cooter. Isn't he a beauty? What a magnificent animal, mate. Long in the body, long straight legs, and you'll go a long way to find a ferret that works as a buck that works like him. Spike's pretty good too. Most bucks can get a bit lazy by the time they get to his age, and they start to slow down and don't really work. He's very, very active and very energetic. So and I like him a lot. So he's one of the bucks that I've got. I'll just go back. I was going to say something then about back before about priority and breeding. Another thing to look for in your ferrets is conformation. I like them long in the nose, short between the ears, long in the legs, long in the body. That's how I prefer to have them. And you'll notice that with a lot of the ferrets, if you take note, that a lot of my ferrets, like old Grace there, she's pretty old now, long legs, long in the face, short between the ears, long in the body. And you can change things on a ferret. Like if I've got a ferret here at the moment, it's a little bit short in the body, but not much. Beautiful looking ferret, an extremely good worker. It's Graham's ferret, and I'm breeding her to Spike this year. Well, she's already been bred to him. But if you look at it, she's dead straight in the legs. I'll just put this camera down and I'll give you a good look at her. A few people getting her kits this year. I've got a waiting list, guys. There's already 15 people on it. So if you're thinking about getting a ferret, you might want to get your name on the list. If you look at her legs, she's dead straight, beautiful head, a little bit short in the body, but not much, you know, almost a perfect type ferret. But what a worker, this ferret, I've seen it work, and I said to Graham this year, I said we would be mad if we didn't breed that ferret this year. So we bred her, and I'll show you the ferret I bred her to. It's my other buck called Spike. Excuse me while I move everything across. Oh, camera fell down. So I'll just get Spike out and give you a look at him. Here's the other buck that I bred to Graham's Jill, and we call her Shorty. And it's a Spike. And I bred it a Spike mainly. Look, you get better colours if you bred her with Cooter. But if you look at Spike, how long he is in the body, and I'll give you a good look at him, he's very long in the body. Very, very long legs. So what he'll do when you put him over a Jill is, he normally makes them longer in the legs, thinner in the face. That's normally what that particular ferret does, and he's an extremely good worker. If you've been following me videos at all, you would have seen him, how good he actually is. But a quality buck. And Cooter is too. He's a little bit different type, but also a quality buck. He's got similar traits to Spike, only a little bit different type. So we put Graham's little Jill in there, Shorty. We put her in with this ferret to give her a little bit more length on the kits, and a little bit longer in the legs. So not that she needs longer legs, her legs are fine. So that's her, that's Shorty. We bred her already. I'm breeding Storm again this year. She's in with Spike, with Cooter right now, and I'm really looking forward to getting those kids. Sure, come on back. So yeah, I think I've covered just about everything, guys. 42 days till they're born. Have a priority trait system about what you like in your ferrets. I've mentioned the things that I think are pretty important, and there are other things I have on the list as well that I look for, but you know, look, we're all different. I may breed Trixie again this year. I'm not too sure at this stage. I'm waiting to get a cinnamon Jill off Dan from Daniel Guilford, who's a ferreting contractor. I'll pick that up on the 3rd. I'll take her out. I'll assess her and work out what I think she needs, and if she makes the grade, if I think she's good enough to breed, I'll breed her. Apparently it's a really good line. There's Trixie. I'll give you a look at Storm, who I've got in with Cuda at the moment. Where have I got Storm? Here she is. She's a bit bitten up her end and neck at the moment, but there's Storm. If you look at her, again, long in the legs, really thin face, long in the legs, nice long body. She's only little though, Storm, but a mad savage, mate. A really good working ferret. She's a little bit wet at the moment. And she's being bred with Cuda right now. So this is the pairing of these two this year. She's a nice animal, Cuda, isn't he? A very nice animal, mate. So those two have been bred, and they're actually breeding now. I'll pull her out tomorrow. So and they'll be having kits. So in 6 weeks from now, 42 days, they'll have theirs. She's about 4 days. 4 days less, so another 38 days she'll be having hers, and I won't know about the other one until later on. So I think that's just about covered it, guys. I may have missed 1 or 2 things, but I went over the basics. So if you're thinking about breeding, take those things into consideration, and you'll probably do a little bit better than what you would have hadn't you known what I'm talking about. Also, guys, once you breed your ferrets, if you've made that decision, with the females that are pregnant, like anything that you're going to breed or whatever, increase the fat content in the diet. Make sure they're getting plenty of vitamins, plenty of calcium, because everything you feed your ferret from when you breed them to when they're born goes into your kits. So you're only going to improve the quality of your kits if you improve the quality of their food. I give them a little bit more fat once as soon as I breed them. I vary their diet a lot more. I make sure they're getting plenty of that supplement, and I tend to feed them a little bit more raw, which, look, over 80% of the food my ferrets gets is all raw anyway. So this is just the breeding area that I have. All my working ferrets are in here. Well, actually they're not at the moment. I'm just finished cleaning the cages out, so that's where they sleep, and they're in that box there. But you've all seen them working ferrets many times. If you haven't, watch a few videos after a couple of weeks, because I won't be making any more for a couple of weeks. So if you watch after a couple of weeks, I'll be back into it and you'll see plenty. Otherwise, go through what I've already put up on the online. So yep, Storm and Cuda been bred. Graham's Jill Shorty's been bred with Spike. So far that's the breeding, and I may breed Trixie again this year. Her kits were outstanding this year, really good. Star I'll probably breed next year. Star, Silver and Buffy. That's the plan at this stage. Although I've got one in there called Silver who's really starting to show a bit. She's a lot like Spike in type. I really like her, and she's starting to show more and more all the time. There's me puppies getting better and better all the time, and they're eating a bit of kangaroo tail, I think. Hoo, hoo. Where's your kangaroo tail? Look at that. And the ferrets love that too. I've got some in a bag up there, and I'll be feeding that to them later. I chopped it up and put it in a bag, and it's defrosting. So they'll be getting kangaroo tail tonight for dinner, all of them. All right, guys, I hope this video has helped you a little bit. Hope it's given you something to think about. But just remember, it's a lot of work, guys. If you're going to do it properly, you're not going to be making any money, but you will improve your line. If you heed what I'm saying, your line will get better. Try not to breed related ferrets, one of the biggest things. Have a priority trait system about what you're looking for in your ferrets, because a lot of the stuff that they do, it's hereditary. A lot of the traits that they have. passes from father to daughter. There is a percentage rate about what gets passed on and what isn't. They say a lot of the traits come through the gel, and the colour and the type comes through the male. How that works out, I don't know. How they worked it out, I don't know. That may not even be true, but it's what I've heard from a few people over the years. And do I think it's right? Most of the time. Not always. Probably a little bit more than half of the time that's correct. So there you go, guys. That's a bit of a look, a little bit of a video that I said I was going to do. Like I said, hope you've all got something out of it if you come on here looking for that sort of thing. And good luck with your breeding. All the best for now. Whatever you're doing in life, make sure you enjoy, because life goes past way too fast.